Hello and welcome to Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life. This is Jared, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, Johanna. Hey, Johanna.
Hi, Jared.
What are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about goal setting.
Tell me about goal setting.
It is what I, as a teacher, spend most of my time on.
Really?
Yes. Figuring out how to have students realize the goal that they need to write, because this is what makes teaching easy for me.
Oh, so students' goal setting.
Right. Well, I mean, I need to paint the target, but I need to not be the one that discovers the target, right? We talked about last time how I have students do pre-assessment so that they realize what they don't know, and then I need to create and craft ways that students set goals for themselves, sometimes every 10 minutes, but definitely we do long-term goals, short-term goals, and then daily goal setting.
So I'm surprised to hear that you spend that much time on goal setting, because when I think of goal setting, I think of like, well, I have a goal to lose 10 pounds. So it's really quick for me to set that goal, and then actually dieting or exercising or something is a lot of time. So it seems like upside down to me that most of the time would be spent on goal setting instead of goal doing.
Right. So you set a goal that you want to lose 10 pounds, and then you think that that's where we stop. But that's
a goal.
An unachievable goal. Goal setting is that which is tactile and evident quickly. So that has to get broken down, and then broken down again, and then broken down again. And I guess we're not going to talk about in this episode, but monitoring that goal is a huge part of the goal setting formula that makes it all work. You seem doubtful.
Hang on. Okay, so I think that what you're implying that is that a goal to lose 10 pounds is a too high level to be a good goal for goal setting.
Right.
And the direction we're going is you want your goals, your targets or whatever, to be small and measurable in a way that allows you to achieve success before you give up on the long run goal.
Right. Like I would never want an assessment to cause a student to write a goal that says I want to lose 10 pounds. That's like I want to write a novel. I want to learn calculus. Yes, that's too much. That doesn't work. You need to have goal setting be tactile and feasible depending on the age of the student, something that happens relatively quickly, and by that I mean within a couple of weeks. And so what you're breaking down is how to take a learning target that will take a couple of weeks and put it into something that keeps them motivated and seeing progress in whether it's every day or every 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the age of the student.
What do you do then?
So teachers get a lot of professional development about goal setting. And this is well-intentioned, this professional development, but it tends to be focused on the verbs you should use or the actions that students do. And I understand.
What does that mean?
So the goal shouldn't be like students will fill out this worksheet. Okay. But they focus too much on, well, what's the actual verb, instead of focus on who's writing the actual goal. Like as a teacher, I don't matter. So kind of phase one is to realize that whatever you've learned about goal setting was probably well-intentioned. You maybe even at your school have to write purpose statements and have them posted. This isn't about that at all.
Okay.
Do you have to ever write goals and then the actual goal writing activity takes 4 hours?
No.
Oh, we do that a lot in education. We're really into goal writing, and we spend so much time writing goals.
Maybe once a year.
Well, you might say ours are once a year too, but when you only have 20 hours of professional development, it can be really sad when you spend 5 of it on goal writing.
But I would have thought the goals are, you want the students to know the content and the curriculum. Isn't that always the goal?
No, we have like these educational standards because the content and curriculum, like the internet has been invented, and so that's kind of transformed education. I mean, it used to be that you could be successful if your kids could tell you who George Washington was, but now there's not probably a curriculum out there that says students
Really,
know
that's all you needed? Just who
Well,
is George Washington?
But it was, when we learned history in school, it was very fact-based. We didn't analyze the facts. We just knew the facts. And now kids don't need to memorize the facts so much as analyze why the facts are important. Or how they might influence future decisions.
So that makes purpose statements or whatever they're called more complicated?
Right.
Okay. But it doesn't matter anyway.
Doesn't
you're
matter
not talking
anyway.
about that sort of purpose statement.
We're not talking about those.
Well, I'm glad we could establish that. What are we talking about?
Is it time to start over?
No. You can edit some of this down, I'm sure.
Okay. We're talking about goal setting where you as the teacher don't matter and your goals don't matter. It's the kids and what the kids set as their goals that matter.
Okay.
So you've just had kids take this pre-assessment, right? You've just had them realize everything that they don't know to be ready to take the final assessment. And now you need to harness that and say, so what is your goal? You know, if a kid was like, well, my goal is that I know all the answers for the next time. They're going to write something that your professional development is going to say is a terrible goal.
Okay.
Right? It's going to fly in the face of everything because they are children.
That makes sense, though, that they would take the pretest and be like, well, I only knew half of the things on the pretest. I want to know all of the things on the pretest.
Right.
Next time I take the test, I want to know all of them.
Right.
That's my goal.
I couldn't read this paragraph. My goal next time is to be able to read this paragraph. Or I couldn't play that piece of music. My goal is to be able to play that piece. They're going to come up with something that is so logical that every professional development you've ever had is going to say, that's a terrible goal. We shouldn't have it.
Why would that be? Okay, so is it a bad goal?
No. Because it's theirs.
Oh.
That's what they want.
I want to know the thing.
They have established a want, and they have established a want that's connected to learning. So it doesn't matter.
But that sounds a lot like the I want to lose 10 pounds type goal.
Right. That is, if you're the doctor, you might say the loss of 10 pounds isn't what matters. Healthy living that leads to the loss of 10 pounds is what matters. But you can't get lost in the weeds. You got to accept the fact that they have acknowledged they want change, and they want change in the direction that you want them to go, and that's all that matters.
They're motivated to go in the right direction.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Motivation. They have sought.
And I don't want to step on your stuff, but my guess is that we're going to harness this in a way like we're going to use our cleverness to give them ideas and techniques so that they don't just sit down and stop being motivated or go wander off in the wrong direction.
Right. So
now that we have this energy, we want to harness it and guide it.
Yes, so we're going to write that goal exactly how they say to write it. And this might mean you have to hide it from administrators who might pop in because they will get angry about how the goal is written because it's going to be written by children who didn't go through the professional development of making sure you use the right verbs.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing that you're going to have this in child speak and knowing that it is written by your student population, you are then going to say to the students...
Your point is that the worst constructed goal statement that's theirs is more valuable than the best constructed goal statement that's yours.
You make me sound smart. Yes, that's what I mean.
So
yes,
you can deal with the construction elements as like an underlying thing.
Well, those could drive you and your professional work.
But if it's not theirs, if you just make a perfect one and hand it to them, it doesn't have the same effect as making it theirs.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so they have done that. Now, take the time to have them start brainstorming what does that look like in smaller chunks.
Sure.
Okay?
Which is kind of you applying your PD learning to them, right? Like you're giving them a little mini...
Right. We want to lose 10 pounds. What are some things we can do to head there? Well...
I want to stop drinking soda.
Right. So
zero sodas each week.
So...
Or 1 soda each week. I want to work out 3 times a week. Stuff like that.
They're going to set smaller goals that, again, are not going to be how you've been taught to write a goal. But they're going to be probably action-based. Right? So if I realize I need to write a research paper, the kids might come up with the fact that, like, well, I don't know how to search for and find good evidence. I mean, they're gonna tell you what they want to learn. And you can use this time to point out things they're not going to realize. Like, let's take my grammar example. If you know as a teacher that they also don't have the grammar skills or the citation skills necessary, you can point that out by asking questions. In what we were looking for, we had to have proper citation. How many of you felt like you were able to provide proper citation? Right? Okay, so that's also a learning goal. We need to learn proper citation. You now, as a teacher, can say to the students, okay, so over the course of the next 2 weeks or whatever it is, if I create learning experiences that help teach you these goals, is that what you want?
Yes. That's what I want.
Okay.
Now I want to learn.
Now I want to learn. And then this is where I spend the majority of my time, is I already know that these are already the things I know the kid needed to do anyway. This wasn't...
Like if the content were about, like, the causes of the Civil War.
Sure.
Like, I want to learn what caused the Civil War.
Okay.
Bad goal because it's too broad, right?
It doesn't create a Bloom's...
But that's what motivates me. I don't even know what Bloom's means, and I don't want to know.
Okay.
But, like, I want to learn how to... I want primary sources. I decided, well, okay, I need to know the primary sources for what was behind that. Do I even know how to find them? Do I know how to cite them? Like, is that what you're saying? Like, I'm going to say, well, okay, I want to identify primary sources relevant to the causes of the Civil War.
Yeah.
You're going to create learning experiences for me where I can figure out how to find and identify and use primary sources.
And none of this would be new. This would all be something that a teacher probably already has created in the curriculum. It's probably the experiences they were going to have the students do anyway. But because the students said it's what they wanted, they're now going to handle these activities differently.
Right, as opposed to, okay, it's Tuesday, and today's lesson is about primary sources. They're important because I told you.
Correct.
And so here's how you do them.
But you're always connecting back to your goal. Every single class time, you are taking time to show them this is what we don't know. We are about to enter a learning experience, and this is what we don't know.
You said you wanted to know why the Civil War happened, and we thought about it. We agreed, well, I mean, if you don't read the things that were written at the time about why it happened, how are you really ever going to know?
But then you have to take it one step further. Because just going through an activity, just working out 3 times a week doesn't lead to you fulfilling your goal. So before the learning is about to happen, you need to hand it back over to the students again through a measurable gain. So whether it's a series of drills that the students are going to do, whether it's a series of writings they're going to do, whether it's a series of like learning tutorial, whatever the learning activity is, you have to put it into a package of, I can't do X, but by the end of class, I'm going to be able to do X. So you want to show them something like, okay, let's take our citation example. You want to show them an article and you want to be like, I want you, our learning purpose is to know how to do citation. Because that connects to our grand learning purpose of about analyzing what caused the Civil War. If I give you this article, do you know how to cite it right now?
No.
Do you know how to pull out quotes and then link it back to the citation?
Sorta.
Okay. What is your goal for today's learning? By the end of today, what are you going to be able to do?
Pull out the quotes and then properly cite them.
I want you to write that down.
Okay. Here I am writing it.
Okay. End of class.
Can I do it now?
Yeah. So you're going to do it.
Yeah, I wrote it down. This was my goal I wrote down.
You're going to go do the learning.
Yes or no? Do I feel like I can do it?
No. End of the class, you're actually going to do it.
Yeah. Even better.
Right? You have to let them see a measurable goal every single time. And sometimes, depending on the student, depending on how fearful they are of success or how much experience they have not being successful.
People aren't generally fearful of success.
Oh.
You mean how fearful they are of failure? They don't want to give an answer because they don't want to be wrong.
Right.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to take students and make the goal even smaller.
Yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked, but like that's hard, but that's maybe more valuable than why the Civil War happened. It's like learning that you need to be able to give answers without being paralyzed by fear of failure, right? Like
it's hard. Well, and then it's also hard. So now you have a student at the end of class, you've said, did you meet your goal? And when they say no, or when they say sort of, then you can ask, well, what should we do about that? And they will be shockingly honest and say things like, I'm going to need to come in and get help. Or next class time, I'm going to need to meet with you in a small group to learn more about this. And now that kid that maybe takes more time to learn, who would have fought you and been a behavior problem when you tried to put them in a small group the next time because you looked at their work and they weren't ready to move on, now that they've acknowledged they need help, they're going to interact with that help differently.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, it's simple because it takes what you already have, but it's transformative because now you aren't driving the ship. The students are driving the ship.
Is it hard to do, like, every class session have this sort of design and assessment? It seems like it would be difficult.
It feels awkward in the beginning because we're not used to it. We're trained as teachers to be the leader. We think of teacher as meaning leader. We don't think of teacher as meaning coach or guide. And if you've never done goal setting with your students before where they are coming up with their goals, then it does feel awkward and it can feel like a waste of time. You have to give it...
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was driving at, because it's like, well, we're spending all this time doing kind of meta stuff. Like, we're gonna think about how we're gonna learn.
Right.
And it seems like it chews into the time that we're gonna spend actually learning things.
And I'm glad you... So, for example, I happened to teach a secondary class where other teachers taught it at the same time as myself. And we started school in August. I do this very goal setting. I use something called a mapped learning progression, which breaks the learning down for students. Goal setting was a part of the start of every class time. It was a part of the start of every learning cycle. I remember the date. By August 6th, my students were 3 weeks behind the other teachers.
Were you teaching a summer class or what?
No, sorry, October 6th.
October 6th.
In my head, I saw the word October. But
well, the emperors did insert 2 extra months into the calendar, so You're just being very traditional. Because you think like octo means what?
8.
8. But what month is October?
Oh, 10.
Yeah, but it's because it used to be 8, but then like Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar put their months in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but like Sept is 9 and...
You've transformed my world.
Right. So, October really is supposed to be the 8th month. That's probably what you meant.
I didn't, but now I'm glad I made that mistake so I could learn that. Okay, no, so we started in August, but by October 6th...
3 weeks behind.
3 weeks behind.
Almost half again as far behind as everybody else is half again ahead of you.
This is a significant amount when you teach a semester-long class.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, they are ready to give the first, like, midterm, and we aren't anywhere close. But by the time we got to the middle of November, we were over 3 weeks ahead. And by the time the semester was ending, I actually had time for a whole other unit that that no one else even touched. It takes time to let kids, they are children, to let children know how to goal set and meet their goal. I mean, it's kind of like weight loss. If you go to someone and they just create a plan for you and you do exactly what they say, you will lose weight. The results will, quickly, but then you regain it. It's not until it's all self-choice and self-driven that the results are real. And my student scores on tests, I mean, as a student, as a teacher, my workload became less and less and less as my students' workload naturally became more and more and more.
There's a quote that's probably apocryphally attributed to Abraham Lincoln that I really like. That's probably not Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln and Winston Churchill have a lot of quotes that they never actually said.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, because people attribute things to them all the time that aren't true, right?
Okay.
So this one's probably one of those. But Abraham Lincoln, supposedly, if you give me 24 hours to chop down a tree, I'll use 20 to sharpen my axe.
Yes.
And this is what made me think, because you're October, not August, but October, like, you're behind. If you take a dull axe and start whacking at the tree, you're going to be ahead, right, of the person who isn't chopping at all but is sharpening. But is that the right way to do things? No, obviously not.
Well, and it all goes in combination with, like, the behavior management stuff we've already talked about, with the assessment work that we've already talked about, and then probably most importantly, students knowing how to talk and learn together as a team, right? Kids can't be motivated in a vacuum. They're motivated in a team where when they're not feeling motivated, someone else is driving the ship. So none of these things work in isolation, but together they allow you as a teacher to be more successful and feel a lot less stress.
All right, is it recap time? Or
I think we're recap time. This is a hard one. Good luck.
Oh, okay. When we say goal setting, you want to distinguish it from, like, professional development goal setting, which is all good stuff in a way, but it's
meant for adults.
And they're training you in like, your goals are only so important. What you really need, and with the whole secret of what we're talking about in this particular episode, is you need the students to have goals.
Right.
Which we did.
Yes.
So get goal setting. Don't worry that the professional development would call it bad.
Correct.
Because you want them to say, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to learn calculus. I want to learn why the Civil War happened. Because whatever it is that is
I want to get an A.
Right.
I mean, they'll make it. They will make it a goal that is in polar opposite.
Because at this point, you're not designing a plan. You're trying to harness a motivation.
Right. Yes. Ooh, you're good. Yes. Harnessing a motivation.
And then you can help them with the plan by coming up with lesson-specific mini little assessments of, okay, here's what I want to learn today. How does that relate to my goal? And then measuring it at the end, whether or not I accomplished my objective for this learning session of learning the thing that contributes to my goal.
Yes.
This all falls into a map learning progression plan.
So I, as a teacher, naturally write lessons that will cater to this type of goal setting, and those are called mapped learning progressions.
So it's not just totally them making, like, you have a plan behind the scenes that what they make up is going to kind of land on what you were expecting to have happen, and you're nudging them towards it.
Correct.
You don't necessarily want them to have, like, autonomy, but, like, you want them to have ownership in this plan, objective, goal that you're guiding them towards.
Right, and as long as they've already taken that pre-assessment that is not multiple choice, but is application-based, you've you've initiated the target. So they will follow in suit with the target because they know that that's coming at the end.
Can I pitch something to you?
Pitch it. Go for it.
I would suggest just, and this is kind of a businessy thing, distinguishing between goals and objectives. To use objective as because I think you use goal kind of for both things, which is what is running into your conflict with what the PD goal thing is.
Okay.
But goals are what motivates, but then objectives are, I think, is what I would use to describe the specific things in the lesson plan. Is like whether I'm motivated or not, I rationally recognize that this objective will help me to make progress towards accomplishing the goal, which I emotionally want.
Do you think a 6-year-old is going to understand the word objective?
Yeah, because they're playing. I'm sure there's objectives in Fortnite. I know there's objectives in Call of Duty.
Oh, so, really?
Like,
oh, okay.
Like Minecraft
so I'm
has
saved by video games, huh?
Or missions or whatever they call it. But yeah, like your
mission.
Your
That's
objective,
a good word.
Your objective, your quest, whatever. They're used to dealing with this.
Okay.
So.
All right. Video games are the salvation.
We did it. Finally, we recognize how important video games are.
Okay. We're recapping, though.
Yeah.
All right.
We recapped.
It's all recapped.
And then I added my thing at the end, which I'm not supposed to do. But anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you, Jared.
Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life.